Hi everyone, it's Barbara with Acting for Community Theatre. Today we're going to talk about your voice and help you get those lines to the back row. So if you're tired of hearing your director say, "I can't hear you," or project, we're going to help you with that today. So the first thing, my very first tip, would normally be to relax, because if your instrument's not relaxed, then nothing's really going to come out very well. But breath is so darn important that I have to put it first. So we're going to talk about breath first. I might actually have to do this in two parts, this video, because I really want to dive in on your breath. So let's get started. I just can't overstate the importance of breath. Everybody breathes, and we all breathe in the same way. We have a diaphragm under our lungs that helps pull the air in and out. It's like it creates a vacuum and it sucks the air in, or we release it. It's not something we have a lot of control over in terms of we can't just stop ourselves from breathing, nor would we want to. What we do have control over is how we breathe, where we breathe, and how we release that breath, how we control it. We have a lot of ways of working with that. And that, in essence, is voice. Because if we can control how we're breathing and how we're releasing it, which includes all of it, including resonators and articulators, for example, then we're going to be able to control our voice. So let's start with the idea of diaphragmatic breathing. Now, we all do this because if we weren't using our diaphragm, we couldn't be breathing. However, I want you to think about your lungs. They're pear-shaped, aren't they? And there's a lot less room up top, and your lungs are going way up top. People don't realize how close they are to your collarbone. But you've got a lot less room up there than you do down in your belly. In order to really produce good vocals, you want to be breathing way down into your belly. You want to use all that space that's down there. That's a lot of real estate. And that's where you want to be breathing from, as they say. You want to breathe into your diaphragm or into your belly, and you want to make sound coming straight from down there, like as if there was a conduit, like a big pipe that just went from the bottom of your lungs straight out to the world. You want that air to just be flowing right up and through. It's a different feeling than it is when you think you're speaking from your throat. Singers know this. If you've taken any singing lessons, you already understand this. And if you're a veteran actor and you know how to work with your voice, there's probably nothing I'm going to be able to tell you in terms of your breath that you're not going to understand. Because once you get it, you kind of get it. I remember when I used to sing at home when I was a teenager, when everybody else went out, I would put on a record. Yes, I actually mean a vinyl record. And I would sing. And I remember the day, I was probably 12 or 13, where I finally got it. Like something just clicked. And I stopped singing from here and I started singing from down there. And it was a huge revelation to me. And later, as I got into theater, I already was a step ahead in terms of getting that in place when we were on the floor working with vocal coaches and stuff like that, and doing all the things that they do in school when you're learning how to act. So that's the first thing I want to focus on. So how do you know if you're doing proper diaphragmatic breathing or not? Well, the easiest way I know is go and stand in front of a mirror and stand in what I would call a neutral position, or at least stand up straight where you're not hunched over, and relax. Just take a couple breaths and relax. And then I want you to once you're relaxed, take a few more breaths and just watch in the mirror what your body does. And if it does something like this, let's see if I can do it. There we go. Did you see my shoulders rise and fall? If you're doing that, you're probably breathing mostly from up here. So we're going to fix that. If you're by yourself, you can lie down on the floor with your knees bent and the soles of your feet flat on the floor. So that helps release your lower back. And then you can either put your hands, both hands, one on top of the other, or a heavy book. We used to use a phone book back in the day, on your lower belly, like right around where your belly button is. And then what I want you to do is just breathe in order to try and raise your hands away from your body or lift the book up. So you're going to just want to kind of breathe and see if you can push your hands upwards in that breath. Really focus on using your breath to push your hands or your breath to push that book. Really push your hands away from your body and then let it out. Keep doing that until you've really got a good sense of it. And then try afterwards like a Santa Claus laugh, like a ho, 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 ho. And see if you can get your belly to bounce that book, bounce your hands, and keep doing that. And because the point is to connect your breath to the feeling of moving your hands or the book or whatever it is out. You can also do this by holding your hands at your side, just under your rib cage, so the lower area just under your rib cage, and see if you can push your hands outwards as you breathe. Same idea. Or if you have a partner, you can stand with them like you were waiting in line at the bank, so you're both facing in the same direction, and you can have that person at the back put their hands on your lower back, just under the bottom of their rib cage. And you can focus on forcing their hands out with your breath. And they can tell you if they're feeling their hands being pushed out. You want to keep practicing that every single day until you're absolutely sure that you are getting your breath really well down in that space. Once you've got that, and actually at the same time as you're practicing it, you can start using a sound to release that breath. So you fill that area in the bottom up with air and then release it on sound. Or whatever sound you like. And just let it go all the way until you run out of air. And then take another big breath down from your belly. And then again, have that air come up that channel and make that sound. I use an ah. Most people do. You could use something else. But ah is very freeing and it has a nice open sound. Ah, you can use a different tone wherever your range is. Just get that breath out. And just keep practicing making that sound and having it come from down there, not from here. You're actually producing the sound in here and with your lips and with your teeth and other things. So this is where you're producing the sound, but the sound is coming from down here. It's important to understand this is your engine. That your breath is your powerhouse. That's your engine. You will not be able to get your lines to the back of the row if you can't do this. You will not be able to have a good stage whisper because you have to be able to sometimes whisper and still get your lines to the back. You don't do that from your throat. You do that from the power and support that your sound has with breath. That's your support. That's going to support all of the sound that you make. That's why you need good, big breath. You need a control of it. You need to know how to breathe from your diaphragm, from your belly, and how to let that channel just go right through out to the outside world. That's how the first way you get your breath to the back. The second tip is to relax. Because if you're not relaxed, if you're tight in your jaw or in your neck or in your shoulder, you are not going to be able to produce sound well. So do some relaxation exercises. There's so many out there. I guess I will do a warm-up video at some point to help people with that. And make sure that you're relaxing your jaw and loosening your jaw, that you're loosening your articulators, your lips and your tongue, that you're not tight in here, that your shoulders are rolled back and down. Again, neutral position helps with that. So once you're really relaxed and you know how to breathe from your diaphragm, then you can really start focusing on making good sound to get to the back row. So find a good physical and vocal warm-up routine and practice it. Practice it a few times a week at least, even if you're not doing a show, because all of this is going to help you when you do a show. This body and your voice are your instrument. That's what you use, and you have to keep it, you have to learn how to use it properly, just like we would play any instrument, and you have to keep it maintained. You have to keep practicing with it. It's really important. After you've done a good vocal warm-up, a good way to keep that voice warm, like say you've done your warm-up and it's 5 minutes before a curtain and you're standing just outside in, backstage somewhere. You want to keep your voice warm, but you don't want to make any noise really, is to hum. And you can hum really quietly to yourself. It doesn't have to carry. It just helps keep all your vocal cords warmed up, and it just keeps everything just warm and ready to go. So you can hum gently when you're in the car on the way to the theater to start the warm-up process. You can hum gently as you're waiting to go and audition after you've warmed up. You can, hum gently backstage, and it will help you keep your voice warmed up. As you're working with your breath, another fantastic exercise that will help you with the control of it is simply a counting exercise. So what I used to do when I would get in my costume, and it would be before the show, and I would walk around the space on stage like many actors do and do a little warm up. And one of the things that I would do, especially if I was working with something like Shakespeare, or I was working with lines that were very long, or I was singing, is I would do a counting exercise. So I would walk around the space and I would take in air. Say let's start you off on a 5. So we're going to sip in air on a 5 count. And that means all your air is in your lungs at 5. So you don't want to be like counting in your head 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you could take in air until you hit 9. You want to get it all in on the 5. So you want to have control over it. So you're going to take all your air in on a 5 count. You're going to hold it for 5. And then you're going to release it. All of it on a 5 count. And then you're going to move up to, say, 10. Always keep the hold at 5 though. Like, you don't want to keep increasing the hold because that doesn't really get you anywhere, I don't think. If you can get your counts up to like 20 or 25, you don't want to be holding your breath that long, I don't think. Now, the other thing that you can do, which I liked to do, is I would release it on sound. You can either release it on the counting, which makes perfect sense. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you could even change the pitch, I guess. But you want to keep it so that the sound is constant. It's not 1, 2, it's 1, 2, 3, because you want that air coming out. So if you're going to count out, and that I find really helpful, is just keep it going. Keep that sound going through the whole thing. And if it's 10, make sure all your air is out at 10. And then go to 15. And then go to 20. And if you do each one a couple of times, do the 5 2 or 3 times. Do the 10 2 or 3 times. And just keep it going. You need a lot of breath support to get your lines to the back, especially if you're being very loud with your voice. But you also need a lot of breath to support something soft. That's the way that you do a stage whisper. So you need control. And this helps you get control, this counting exercise. Okay, so those are my first few tips. And I will break this up into 2 videos again. So the next time I see you, I will be doing part 2 on my vocal tips. I hope this part was helpful, and I'll see you soon.